Well, a very good afternoon to all of you, wherever you're watching us from, Nairobi, across Kenya, across Africa, and across the world. If you're streaming live, welcome to Viva Africa. Show number 27 is what we have. 4 more to go, or is it 3 more to go? After today, we'll have 3 more shows, then we call it a month. What a month it has been at the Africa Cup of Nations. And today, very unique show. We've always asked, how much do we support our national team, the Harambee Stars? How many fans actually took their time to go all the way to Egypt to cheer the Harambee Stars, no matter the result? That is what we're about to find out today. And for those of you who are saying, I should do quickfire again, no, I'm not doing quickfire. Mukami is still on quickfire.
Back by popular demand, Mike, as you'd like to see it. 5,000 shillings up for grabs today. I have it here in my hand. And since I was told my questions were so easy yesterday, I've decided to make them a little bit more difficult. It's all about numbers. So if you've been keeping with the African Cup of Nations, it's all about numbers. How many, what match is this, what match is that? That's a bit of the hint that I'll be giving you. And of course, we want your contributions back at home. We are asking you, do you think we've underrated African coaches, considering that both teams in the African Cup of Nations final are there? Use the hashtag Viva Africa 2019. You can also use at Citizen TV Kenya, at Mike Okini, at Banandong, and at Mukami Wambora. Bernard, you are also one of the Kenyans who went to Egypt and actually got to celebrate the Harambee Stars.
Yes, it was definitely an experience like no other. This was my first Africa Cup of Nations, and I'm sure for all the Kenyans who are joining us also in the studio today, they'll just give their own sentiments, the positives, the negatives, and just generally how it felt, the Kenyan experience in Egypt, because you can imagine the first time that we were there after 15 years, having your national team competing at the top level in continental football. So it'll be very fascinating to get their insights. We also have DJ Khalif on the ones and twos. I understand that he's a Senegal fan, so he hopes perhaps this coming Friday that they can be able to silence the Desert Foxes in the final of this year's African Cup of Nations as Senegal face off against Algeria in the final. Now, let me just give you a bit of a what do you call a throwback. Before Kenya's game against Tanzania, some of these gentlemen and ladies here prepared something special before the game. They were actually in Egypt, in Cairo to be more specific. And before they made their way to the 30 June Stadium, which was hosting the East African Derby, they had a preparation like no other. So we'll be having that clip in just a moment. Of course, this is when the Kenyan fans prepared a meal. I'm sure my director, of course, is just looking for that particular clip. But before we take a look at that clip, Mukami, fascinating that the tournament started at the beginning towards the end of last month. Who would have expected that we'll be right here where we are right now? 2 teams that were in our group are the ones that are facing off in the final.
Yeah, it's called being in the group of death. Apparently, Kenyans on Twitter are saying we are third. We are an official 3rd place. We'll get some sentiments also from some of the Kenyans here as we wait for that clip. I know I spoke with you, Grace. Our group, was it difficult? Did we play well? And what was just the experience, I'm guessing, in the stadium?
I mean, when I looked at the draw, when the tournament was pulled, definitely Group C was something to watch. Having Algeria, Senegal were not going to be a walkover. So it was either we play our best, Tanzania were ish-ish, but I think in my view, we are definitely going to have a finalist from Group C.
Did you watch all 3 games?
Yes, I did, and I also happened to watch the Algeria-Senegal game. It was one of those games that you look at this and you see there is a finalist material in that game.
Okay, when the 1-0 Algeria versus Senegal.
Yes.
And just moving back to Kenya, I know for me, I was completely over the moon when we beat Tanzania 3-2. What were the roller coaster of emotions that were happening whilst you were in stadium? Because the atmosphere, just even at home, people were jumping up, celebrating, but it was like we were losing, we're winning, we're losing. How was that roller coaster of emotions?
Actually, it was 90 minutes of being at the edge of the seat, because one point we had a goal even before we stopped celebrating, or rather we had finished celebrating. The other goal was, Tanzania had drawn, and it was like, we can't lose this game. This is a derby. And the Tanzanian fans didn't even make it easier. They were on our faces. So we were really at a tight spot, but thank God we came out victors, and it was a party after that.
Maybe I can hear from one of the other guests. Amina, what was that atmosphere like in the stadium? And what was going through your mind when we were playing those games, wins and losses?
I won't talk much about the Algeria match, but I'll talk about the Tanzanian match. That was, as Grace has said it, that was an East African derby. We needed to back the bragging rights. The moment Olunga touched the ball, it was do or die. You should have seen it from Juma in the stadium with his African pot to all the fans. Nobody was sitting down. And this is one point that the stewards forgot that they were supposed to be watching us. They turned and they were looking at the match. That minute, the ball got to Marcelo and he passed his. It was boom. We had made it in life and we needed to have left AFCON. We needed to have left Cairo immediately. That was just, it was an experience that you cannot hold it. Having watched all the 3 matches, having been in Egypt, Kenyans needed that. And we passed across the message that we are here to stay. And maybe looking back, we need to make a statement with that.
Yeah.
From the coaching and the fans, everything, we need to make a statement from those bragging rights.
So, Amina, you're saying how we played, it was all we needed to do was beat Tanzania. It was okay that we lost to Senegal. It's okay we lost to Algeria. Or what was the atmosphere against Algeria? I'll take you back to that because you've refused to comment. But I know back here at home, we were feeling like Harambee Stars did not come to the party. They didn't show up. How was it for you as fans after 15 years? Did you even save up for the tournament? Come to think of it, how did you end up in Cairo?
How did we end up in Cairo? We call ourselves Kenya Football Fans. We are Kefofa. I am the women representative of Kefofa. So it was either an individual performance that you had to get to Cairo or we had to group. So getting to Cairo, first of all, our first challenge was the fans ID. That is one lesson that we really need to learn, that protocols have to be followed in the stadium. We don't have that back here at home. That is one thing, that is one message you're coming back home in. We were so challenged. We managed to get to the stadium without the fans ID because of our officials. Our president is here, Mr. Liboy. And also the Nick Mwendo and his team and the ministry guys, they really helped us. We made noise and because yes, definitely Kenyans, we had to make noise. Because if we couldn't have made noise on social media and on the ground, we could have watched that match in the stands. I don't know what we could have told Kenyans and the world over. How can you be at Cairo and watch the match at the dens where they have their TVs for those that can't make it to the stadium? So it is one experience that we will replay it back. It's going to be a heavy throwback. A very heavy throwback. Algeria got us off guard. I don't know if it is stretch-fied. I can't really tell what happened in that match, from the coach to the players. But after the 90 minutes, we are still Kenyans. We made it to AFCON after 15 years. We need to pat ourselves in the back. And
Mokami, the person who can answer that question correctly is one Billy. Bill Arocho.
Yes.
Karibu.
Nakaribia sana.
Let's clarify. This is Bill Arocho, not Fred Arocho. Fred Arocho ako studio saa hii nafikiri. But they are twins.
Identical.
He gets into trouble, Fred anashikwa. Anajitoa sana. So, si mimi ni Bill, mimi sio Fred. Na yeye ndio mwenye kuleta shida. So Bill, for you follow the team. I remember even the qualifiers, you're going with the team.
Yes.
Ulivyokuwa unaweza fanya anything? Egypt.
I think I was a bit privileged to have been with the team all the way from France. I attended the match in Spain. But when we reached Egypt, we had some issues, especially what my colleague has just mentioned. We had issues with the tags. The fan ID.
Kwa nini hamkuwa nazo?
The procedure. In fact, in Kenya, it was very foreign to us. When we reached there, we didn't know nothing. Most of us did have the fan ID. Let me be sincere. I have to commend our minister, Madam Amina. I took my time, called her. While we we were locked out. Almost half of us were locked out. We tried to make the noise that we normally make in Kenya. We were locked. They brought the police and pushed us away from the stadium. So we had to call Waziri. Waziri took her time. She came. We explained that this thing is foreign to us. We don't understand it.
Now, question, pause there. It was said, Ndong, for all the fans, you get your ticket and your fan ID.
Right.
Yeah.
Where were the fan IDs being collected, and how did you not have fan IDs?
Mike, something interesting, because the fan ID, I think it's an invention that began in Russia with the World Cup.
Yes.
So I haven't traveled to Egypt, but I have the fan ID. I was just hopeful maybe if I make it, if something goes right, I can go attend the final.
Where did you get the fan ID?
Online.
Online.
Just online.
So Billy always
but this, no, surely. Personally, I had a fan ID. But this is a Kenyan issue.
The servers were jammed.
We have to be sincere, it's a Kenyan issue. 90% of the fans didn't have the fan ID. And we had a match. Senegal were playing slightly the first match before us. So Senegal fans equally didn't have the fan ID. They protested and the officials came and helped them in. So we followed suit. We blocked
noise for noise.
We blocked our team coming in. So it was total chaos. Waziri came. She went and bought tickets. I don't know what she did. She negotiated, I think, with CAF. We entered to the pitch without fan IDs. The initial match.
Mulivunja sheria.
I can't call it that way, but we went in because Waziri came with some tickets, literally gave us tickets. We went in. That was the initial match, the first match. The second match was Tanzania.
Yes.
To me, that was the match that really caught me. My friend, I know I'm this dark, but I didn't know I would grow dark only until the second goal came in. You know, we scored, and 2 minutes while we were busy celebrating, they score.
2-1.
That is when I turned into navy blue. I didn't believe here. And we had issues here, as my colleague has just mentioned, the bragging rights. You know, we were living almost next as neighbors at Tanzania, and as we were living almost as close to each other. So we would meet during lunch and talk. We had to win that match, my friend.
Otherwise,
Tanzania wangetusomea sana. But we thank God with Olunga's fantastic goal. Then we turned it now. We had to follow them. Tulikuwa tunawafuata tukiwaimbia. I don't know if you captured that. we really danced. Now Tanzania being humble the way I think they are, hawakutuletea. Ingekuwa ni sisi, I think kungekuwa na vuta nikuvute.
I want to take it back to Kefofa. Fan ID, how do you not go? Because I think it's general practice that you know. Fan ID is a must. And it was said, come to the stadium, you've got your ticket, you must have your fan ID. Kichwangu mtu yetu tunaenda bila. Surely.
My name is Shemo Kota, CEO of Kenya Football Fans Federation. On the issue of fan ID, the systems were also down because we had an upsurge of a lot of fans applying for the fan ID. Then they mentioned that you have to pay it online, which again was a challenge. All visas were not working. We were trying to swipe, it was not working. Then they further changed and said that you now have to pay in pounds, Egyptian pounds. That was another challenge. For you to go and change the money that you have to pay, it was a bit of a challenge. So that is the major reason that made us not have the fan IDs on time.
Sounds like African timing. If the surge all came at once, all the Africans who had traveled to Egypt were trying to get the fan ID. Now, let's take a look at some of the feedback. Remember, our question is whether you think African coaches are underrated, given that the two local coaches have led their respective teams to the final. So some views already coming in on Twitter. We have Emmanuel Mwakera who says, Ghost took us to AFCON with little support from the ministry and won one match. 15 years later, a foreigner takes us to AFCON 2019 with millions from the government of Kenya, 3 weeks camp in France, yet we could only afford a replica of 2002. At DJ Chaplin Kenya says, I believe African coaches are undermined because of the notion that Europeans bring better tactics to the team, forgetting that the African coach have really worked hard to get the European knowledge and even more. Then we have Stanislas Kagawa Stansi who says, not really. The African coaches who perform are those with free hand to make choices and decisions on their own, not being interfered by some forces we know, like here in Kenya, taking a dig, given that they always post results. Kudos to Cisse and Belmadi. Then we have Daniel Oko, who says, I don't think we have underrated local coaches. A lot of factors come into play in coach selection. What should be encouraged, though, is investing in our local coaches in terms of training. Then we also have Geoffrey Kamau. Underrate African coaches, players, and football at your own peril. Let's put this to perspective. No club in Europe is winning a major trophy without a major influence from African footballers, most of whom are coached by African coaches in national teams. Then we also have Nduka David, who says, definitely African coaches have been underrated right away from the local teams to the national team. But to give credit where it's due, African coaches have proved it to us, and now it's time we get hold of what's ours. Then we have Shindu Boniface, who says, that's not true. African coaches are not underrated. The thing we lack is publicity and good structures to train them. You realize that most of our coaches go abroad to get training, and why they don't get an opportunity to lead other teams. So then we have Chemai's Korir Edwin. Yes, especially the players themselves. African players should believe in other African coaches. They can make it look like at Enzi Zagost Mule. Only the players didn't believe in him, but alipeleka team mbali. So,
but then, you see, somebody has talked about 2004 that Ghost took the team to AFCON with no support. That is not true. That was the best preparation we had before going to a major tournament. Remember, the team took part in a 4 Nations tournament in Bahrain before the qualifiers in Bahrain. Then they went and took part in another tournament, 4 Nations tournament in Jordan. Those 2 tournaments gave Ghost Mulee the kind of team that he needs. Remember, Fabish had just stepped down at that time. So gave Ghost the kind of team that he needs to pick for the tournament. Then qualifiers came. Just before the qualifiers, where did the team go camp? In London. Remember the 3-2 win over Bolton? The team camped in London. Bolton with JJ Okocha in the team. That is where they camped and played Bolton. I was there, Mukami.
Yeah.
3-2.
Without revealing other people's ages.
Yes, and I'm saying, left here, went to Cape Verde, won the first game of the qualifiers. That was the platform that launched us to 2004 Cup of Nations. So, history kidogo tu. Let's not say, oh, there was no government support, there was no nothing. Team was under Gava and East Africa Breweries at that time.
Yeah.
Ghost Mulee, the coach.
Now, without revealing anyone's age, I don't know if anyone here managed to watch both African Cup of Nations live, the one in 2004 and the one in this year. Did any of you have that opportunity?
We watched on TV.
Let me just stay on that trail of thought for the local coaches.
Yeah.
Richard, about 10 or so local coaches, and in this year's Africa Cup of Nations, 2 of them have sent their teams to the final. We're asking, do you feel that they're underrated? Do you feel that if they get the support that they require, if they get the support that they need, it is actually possible for local coaches to take their teams to the top level?
Yeah, I think local coaches can work well with government support. The way we've seen the Lions of Teranga and Aliou Cissé, they've performed marvelously. And if you look at the history of Senegal, it's been almost 20 years since they qualified for a Cup of Nations finals. So I believe even locally in Kenya, we have quite a number of coaches, like my colleague said, Ghost Mulee. And in Africa in general, there are good coaches who can take teams to compete competitively and maybe win the tournaments, like the way you're seeing Algeria. Just to mention, the coach of Orlando Pirates, Pitso Mosimane.
Yes.
I think he's one of the coaches who I believe, if given the national team, he can perform so well. Because if you look at Orlando Pirates, the way they're playing, he's taken them to win the Champions League for Africa. And
he's the coach of
twice
Sundowns,
in a row. Yeah, he's the coach of Sundowns.
Thank you. Mamelodi Sundowns.
Thank you for the
Pirates
correction.
Pirates is Michu.
Yeah, thank you for the correction.
Michu, formerly of Uganda.
Yes, yes. So local coaches can still do the job.
But because a question to you again, you've said local coaches can do the job. We had a local coach in our technical bench, Francis Kimanzi, one of the most qualified coaches we have in Africa. He's actually a CAF instructor in coaching. But still, our performance, that's why everybody is saying, but then tulifunga TZ tukasema bas. It's a wrap. Finished. Whatever we do against Senegal, it doesn't matter. Tumefunga Senegal. Naima said, tumalize, after your game, we should have been on the plane back. I don't know if anybody had that. He said, after that game, we should have been on the next plane back home. Because job done.
We had a funeral. We had to come back
home. I didn't hear what she said.
Microphone, you can use the microphone.
After the Tanzanian match, we really had to come back home in the next flight. We had a funeral. We need to come back to bury Bobby.
Ah, okay. Sorry.
Let me, I'm not holding brief for Kimanzi, but what I might think happened is that maybe he was only helping in team selection. But as far as tactically, whatever we applied on the pitch, I believe Coach Minye had the last say, and that's why Kimanzi is not taking any credits whatsoever.
Because the challenge has been, as much as you're having a local coach, that ability to be independent, to make your decisions independently. That's one of the reasons maybe somebody will be very skeptical about having a local coach being in charge of the national team, because there's all this external influence. You know, for a foreigner, you're at liberty to say, no, I will not allow myself to be influenced in my selection, in whatever plans that you have. Because that's usually the challenge.
Yeah, whatever you're saying is correct. Although I tend to differ a little bit. I believe if the team will have been, Kimanzi will have been given a free hand, maybe say to manage the team. Like there's a time Kimanzi was the head coach for Harambee Stars, and we had a very good run. Kenya almost qualified for the World Cup, if I'm not wrong. And if the government of the day of the football, the KFF, then would have let him continue, I believe we could have either qualified for the Cup of Nations afterwards or something like that.
Just a question to everybody, and I want an honest opinion here. Nitaanza na wewe Billy.
Yes, brother.
We've had this, there was a very big debate of players who've been included in the team, they're not supposed to be there, of players who are left out, they were supposed to be there. Right from the word go, tayari squad ilikuwa poisoned. In terms of players read these things. They see them online and everything else. So there was that issue of there's external influence. There are players who are here who are not supposed to be here. There are players who are not here who are supposed to be here. Was selection, did we pick our best?
Kenyan,
yes.
It's a debate that I personally was very concerned of. I still term myself a bit privileged. I was in France. And I will tell you without fear of contradiction, Minye was very independent. Our president, Nick Mwenda, was also there, but he would hardly go to the pitch. He would hardly go to the pitch. People would say that he had some hand in the selection. He had some hand in the getting of the team. But if you ask me, I was very keen. Nick would hardly go to the pitch. Nick would hardly interfere with Minye. In fact, Minye was so harsh. He's a very harsh coach. Find time, uende kwa kiwanja yake, he's very harsh.
Alinifukuza Ethiopia kwa training.
That is Minye for you.
Na nikamwambia team ni yetu.
That is Minye for you.
Unijui na mimi sikujui.
Brother.
Niitie polisi.
That is Minye for you.
Yes.
Minye would chase you off the pitch. Minye, you go to, okay, they were training at a rugby facility in France, where had a 24-hour security. To some of us who as fans who came, we had to be booked in. And at the entrance had a lot of barricade. You reach the pitch when they are training, you are chased off. You are told, my friend, if you're here for an interview or for photos, take your photos and go. That is Minye for you. So if anyone is accusing Nick Mwendwa of interfering, I ask myself, is it the same Nick and Minye I saw in France?
The next question I'll ask you after I sample the opinions of everybody else, what is your opinion? Did we do proper selection?
I think we did a proper selection. The coach was given a free hand to choose among the best, among the best. So I cannot blame Nick. I can't blame the federation. The coach was given a free hand to choose the best, and he did that. No, so we cannot complain.
The players walikuwa to bench.
That one.
Mention the players.
I mentioned the players.
Kindly.
Mention the players.
Okay, number one, Ovela didn't play even one game. Never even warmed up. Number two, Gonzalez. warmed up in one game, never played a single minute. Masood Juma,
you know, you
never warmed up.
In your discussion, you speak as if we had 8 matches in Cairo.
No. We had 3 matches.
We had 3 matches, okay.
Billy, I'm coming from the point of, these are players who play in very crucial positions. If Bernard never played any game as a defender, or Farouk never played any game, I would understand, because we had a great debate here and we said, their positions you never change. Defense na keeper, unawacha tu hivyo. Lakini when is striker, wewe ni midfielder. These are people who change the game.
I'm not holding brief for anyone.
Yes.
But did you watch Kenya play the friendly match we played in Spain? We played DRC?
DRC, yes.
Did you see the kind of goal our goalkeeper conceded?
Yeah.
If a layman okay, I would call myself a layman because the technical aspect of football, I don't know that much.
Yes.
I could have not allowed our goalkeeper to play
to start any match
after conceding such a goal in Spain.
Mukami has a description.
No, let me go slowly. So if people are talking of the selection,
yes,
and as a layman, I still insist, I will be very cautious in my talk because there are some technical aspects that I don't understand. But with such goal we conceded in Spain against DRC, would Matasi still be seeing or even be warming around the pitch?
And the same goal he conceded, because of the same mistakes, he conceded similar goals at the Cup of Nations. What you do
No.
Billy, what you do in training, you will do. Who makes the ball?
1 minute.
Billy, who makes the ball?
Okay, 1 minute. Hey. Matasi and Olunga, by my standards, were the best players. They performed their best at the Cup of Nations, if you ask me. But during the friendlies, this guy collapsed. Matasi, not collapsed as in collapsed, but the kind of goal that he conceded, if you ask me, was the worst. And if surely most of the fans were against. In fact, walimzamia. I don't know if you people watched it on TV. He was so much booed to have conceded such a goal.
Now, Mokami, how do you describe Matasi?
No, I keep saying he's the David James of Kenya. Very good at sometimes and then very poor at other times.
I think you've summarized.
Yeah, but I want to speak to Jane Wanjiru, someone else who actually attended the games. One of the comments we've gotten here from Marius Kamboy is saying, it's still crying why Nicholas Kipkirui and Alan Nwanga were left out. Considering Senegal and Algeria are the 2 teams that have conquered all the other teams and are now in the final. Even with our best squad, would Kenya have done better than they did? Would we have gotten to the next round? Would those changes have made a difference?
Wanjiru Ongoi, that game was crazy. It was really crazy. And Senegal is a very strong team, if I may say. So, 30-80. Most likely wouldn't have done any. Those changes wouldn't have done so much. Yes. Senegal is crazy.
Grace, let's hear your sentiments as well.
I mean, looking at how we played our first half with Senegal, I mean, we had a consistent game. We were attacking. As much as Olunga was sort of up front all alone, but the midfield did a good job. The defense was super. I think the coach got it right with Senegal, but our playing just collapsed in the second half. So I think that tactically we tried. I think would have done better.
Okay. Final comments regarding that topic. It's a very heated debate, Mike.
Yes, it is it's a controversial issue that we can discuss until late. I feel that the coach tried his best. They put the best on the field. We'll always have a winner and a loser. He did the best. He tried what he could, and the boys also did what they could. And that is why we need more fans to cheer up our players. That is where we failed. If we had more fans to give support to our players, because if we have sync between us and the players, they feel energetic and they can play. Even if there is one who cannot perform well, but if the fans are there, you know, singing their names, they'll always have that zeal to perform.
Okay.
Yep.
Bernard, something interesting you had mentioned, just picking up on what he said, Senegal. You were saying the fans of Senegal never stopped singing the entire 90 minutes for the game.
I think, Mukami, those guys, I think they, as much as the team was preparing for the tournament, their fans also preparing for the tournament. I think they also had their own individual sessions to train how to cheer, because they had a full band. They had a full band, and I think it's a lot of lessons that we can also get as far as supporting our national team. So we've talked extensively about the national team, the first part of the show. We're going to take a short break right now, because after the break, we want to get a sense of how it was being in Egypt, some of the interesting things they saw outside the pitch, and just to get the general atmosphere as Egypt hosted this year's Africa Cup of Nations. We'll take a very short break. We'll be back very shortly.